Can I hit the bathroom again?
Yes, please.
Hey, cut the day.
So Sam, sometime this afternoon, can you please print me off first 2 pages of the current packet, please? The first 2 pages of the packet for tonight. Just you. Oh, everyone's.
The agenda is 7 pages long.
I just want the first pages.
It's really long. No, I was.
No, it's
I
really.
was joking about the actual agenda.
Single stage. Yeah.
There is updated packet is up now as well.
So
So
what?
The
the
updated.
updated packet and public comment stuff is in now, so.
I know, I'm going to spend all the rest of the day reading.
Yeah. For me dessert. Some coconut chocolate. I don't want to get after. Yeah, good food, so. Should leave them in front of me.
It's not. Yeah, I'm not eating sugar, so not for me.
I struggle with.
Sorry, Rick, that was disrespectful.
It was just me. Because I can't have chocolate at Christmas. I don't know.
Oh.
It's pretty tough.
Can you have alternative sugars like stevia and that?
Yeah,
stuff?
but I have to do it because it causes digestive upsets.
Oh, no.
The alcohol. Stevia is okay, but
Yeah.
it's not
It's
the same.
Really
It's not the same.
chocolates. Really chocolates. It's lovely, but erythritol and xylitol.
Xylitol and erythritol. I bought 5 pounds of gummy bears that had the alcohol stuff in it. I was living with these roommates. And I put them in the cupboard, I labeled them Rick, don't eat, and they ate like a pound of.
And they-
Both of them missed work for a full day. They had a cleanse. You know what? They quit eating my stuff. Well, you know, welders, oil field trash.
Oh, yeah.
That's who I lived with in North Dakota.
All right. So I guess we'll just open up discussion.
Well,
I think.
Yes, go ahead.
to me, I see 2 alternatives with a question involved.
Okay,
The first alternative is that we continue the process. And we don't offer to either.
okay, so you mean reopen the whole?
Yes.
Process
reopen the whole
started.
thing.
Yeah.
And contingent on that is that we would, can we continue the contact with Leslie during that time? And the alternative was brought up in the citizen panel, which was Evan with mental coaching. But I would not be comfortable with Melissa. And I would not be comfortable with Evan without quite a bit of coaching and mentoring. So those are the 2 tracks, and if we decide to reopen it, I think this time we hire a headhunter firm too. That's the other thing. Could we have Leslie and can we afford to do a headhunter? And I say that, I think, I mean, getting 24 applicants was not bad,
Oh,
but I don't want to do this again. You know, and we, you know, the work that you and I put into doing all this and everything, I just, it's not the best way to do it.
I don't
You know.
think we would get different results.
No, I don't either. No. So I guess I threw out 5 different things, I suppose. But for me, Melissa just would not be a good fit. I don't feel like she has the level of experience with boards. And one of the things was the fact that during the exercise, there was no mention of board trustees in her decision making. It felt like it was all going to be her decision. So anyway, so those are my thoughts on the table with a couple of questions associated with each.
John?
We've heard from trustees here, other trustees, citizens. We don't want to do the on-the-job training thing again. And so that would be, you know, if the culture and conditions were different, probably wouldn't matter, but it does matter. So that option, I think, is untenable. I'd see the only option is to go ahead, to move ahead and start over with the headhunter. And David, like you said, it's a different pool when the headhunter goes, and you should probably repeat that. You said it better, but when you go after people who already have jobs and are looking, you get a different group of folks in your candidate pool, and that's where we need to go. We're stuck in a hiring situation right now, and all that. It is what it is, and we need to deal with it somehow. So this is scarcity. The clerk situation is worse. What are we going to do? Well, do something.
Rick?
I see that both of these candidates are fairly flawed, experience wise, and maybe fit for the situation we're in. What I don't want to do is do what we did before, do as the board did before, and they picked a candidate because we've already gone through this and we're exhausted. We don't want to do this anymore. And that was a disaster. We really need to have a highly qualified person to be the administrator here and somebody to lead the town and not be us micromanaging the town forever. And that's where we have to go. My opinion is we need to go and get a headhunter at this point. And the problem being is I don't know if Leslie has the time nor the inclination to stay for another 2 to 3 months while we go through this process again. But I think that it's necessary. And if Leslie can't be here, we may have to find another interim administrator to get us through this process. But I don't think that we're at where we need to be at now.
Dave?
First of all, John and Paige have done yeoman work for us. Can't thank you enough. I know personally how much it takes to do this level of recruiting. You both have full-time jobs for us for months, basically. I want to thank you both deeply for that.
That was an important thing to do. So I think we were here at the right time. It's really important.
Council. I really
Not
want
with-
to. On the other hand, these are not things council members should have. It's way into the weeds.
Yes.
So, in answer to John's question, it's called passive candidates. Passive candidates are people who are happy in their job and never thought of going to a different job. And what a recruiter does is a little birdie on the shoulder. Have you thought of living in this beautiful little mountain community in Paonia? You're offering a competitive salary and you've got this great outdoor, blah, blah, blah. So kind of starting, and that's what we have been using Chaco to bring shoe designers and manufacturing people into town because it's a career killer to leave Los Angeles or Boston in the shoe industry and come to Taylor. So we had to use recruiters. And that's the value they bring. They bring these passive candidates that you would get. So going back to the candidates, we have Evan absolutely needs more experience under someone who really is best practices. He doesn't have that guidance from, always have one person on your team who really knows what they're doing and is really good at it. Well, he hasn't had the experience of being able to operate under that kind of guidance. And so he's still green around the gills on that. And I think that it would be overwhelming for him to try to take this on at his current level. Melissa, to me, is much too HR focused. A lot of the examples we got were HR examples, not the nuts and bolts. And the difference between their two presentations on the budget and how they sampled their priorities was really kind of night and day. It separated them a lot, but it separated them into the disadvantages that each of them bring. So that was the problem. So in the bottom line is neither one of them, in my opinion, can keep us in our lanes. Neither one of them can really take the core issue, which we've talked a little bit about. Maybe this is more me, but here's the staff responsibility, here's the board responsibility, board state the policy level, staff implement. Just don't, neither one of them I can see being able to do that with us. The only thing this town is good at is hiring interim administrators. I'm sorry. Frank, Bobby, and I'm just yeah. So obviously what we need to do is just hire an interim and keep increasing their contract every month for a couple of years until we're stabilized.
Stepping stones.
Yeah. Keep marching along. So, all humor aside, though, we really need to courtesy to the candidates. They should both be informed as soon as possible.
Yeah.
They're not under consideration and we're opening it back up.
Sam, would you go get Leslie?
I think she should.
Melissa says she's in another interview possibly on Monday. She's Evan can keep his job straight, so maybe some feedback can help him narrow what he really needs to get in his job.
I concur with what everyone has said. I was not blown away by either one of these candidates. They're not what we need. If we could Leslie. He would be wonderful. Okay, you don't have to speak for a while.
So we want you to negotiate with both candidates and tell us which one is cheaper. That's awful.
You'll be doing this against my recommendation.
Well, one of the staff members said they wanted to have fun, so we're trying to.
I'm returning the fund.
Fun.
Would somebody like to make a motion to what we have basically decided?
I'd be happy to try, unless you go ahead, Rick.
I'd like to make a motion that we reopen the recruitment for the town administrator. And this time we use a headhunter.
Okay, we have a second. Any further discussion from the board? Dave?
Dave?
Okay, thank you, sorry.
I'd like to talk about the headhunter just a little bit. So do we, is there any chance we can, this is an administrative question. I'm wondering if the headhunter, the RFP, we would have to start over with the new RFP. I'm just talking logistics and an RFP for that. So I wonder if we have enough to cobble together a pretty good RFP between the police recruitment,
Right,
and then all the information we'd already created about job description and the brochure that John had done. Have you seen those? We already, when we started advertising for the administrative position.
I sent
Oh,
you.
I shared those.
No, but I didn't read your brochure.
Yeah, I shared those with you. That's why I'm thinking. So anyway, I'm just wondering is if we have enough fodder and information to make it not too difficult to do a new RFP, get a headhunter for an administrator.
To back us up a little bit, do we absolutely have to have an RFP for this, or can we rely on CML and other places that have done recent searches to give us the names of firms that they've used? I don't know.
Can we go back to Chris Lowe and get a bid from Chris Lowe?
It's above the spending.
Chris Lowe,
Yes.
The-
Chief Government Professional Solutions, he's done some work for Hotchkiss and did a little bit of.
Yeah, he was our recruiter for our previous.
Chris?
Was.
I was. I thought Chris was-
So I saw you.
We still that we're doing RFP because it's above the spending limit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
And I have a list.
You have to do RFP for the.
Yeah.
We don't know the answer. I don't know the answer to that.
And
I'm trying not to delay the process.
Yes.
Do an RFP, we have to advertise, we have to give them another time. It takes us 2 months before we're doing that.
You want me to give you a little bit more information before you make this decision?
Yes.
So I did call my management advisor and said. Because when he told me about this interim position, he expressed a concern that you were advertising too low for wage. And I asked him what he thought would be an upper end that would be more attractive, and he said 120. You can go out with a headhunter. I am not convinced that headhunters help you a lot if you're advertising with the right wording and with a brochure about the job that explains everything. And because I think Paone is like really attractive, and you're advertising on ICMA, and I know Paige, you said that you decided not to advertise on ICMA.
And that was a conversation with Bill Crank.
And what did Bill say? I know Bill really well.
Okay, he and 2 other past administrators helped us
Right.
with our screening. And he said that he just wasn't sure going out through that internationally was going to get us candidates.
Well, I can tell you what happened with Cresta. We did get candidates.
Okay.
We got candidates that were kind of the kinds of candidates that you drew other than Guy. But we were offering tops 60,000.
Oh.
And the reason why I suggest going out on ICMA is that you will pull in good candidates from other states where 120,000 sounds like a fortune. So you can do a headhunter. The other person that I'm going to recommend, you may know him. He was the manager of Gunnison. His name's Mark Collins. He's somebody I really respect, and he just retired and started doing the headhunter job. But if you've got somebody that you like,
It's some people are mixed on. What I was explaining to the board earlier is the advantage of a recruiter, in my experience, was they can get past candidates. They can go after people who aren't necessarily looking for jobs. ICMA, when that ad comes out, who are the people that read it?
And here's the other information I have from talking to Nick. He works for Kingsburg, and Kingsburg has fired their manager, and he has a great deal of respect for her, and she is active in our professional association. And I think that maybe just like reaching out to somebody like her and seeing if she's interested. So that kind of thing. I've been headhunted. I've been in some headhunter recruitments. Certainly they reached out to me when I wasn't looking at it for a job because I had filed a resume. Do I think it helps? I mean, these jobs were a little bit bigger jobs than this one is. I'm not sure. For a small town, I'm not sure.
One of the things I've found with being headhunted, because I've been actively headhunted for years as a project manager. And generally, the people that contact me don't have a job that I would be interested in. Generally, it's, we got this job and we think you'll be a good fit, but you look at it, it's like, it's not my skill set. And
Instead of Ohio.
And what they want to do is I think they're pumping their numbers sometimes, but I've also been headhunted where the job looked really good, but I was happier in my job. Now, better the devil you know than the devil you don't. And that's that's the way I.
And you only need one good bullet. I mean,
You know.
it's up to you, but I just wanted to say that I have reservations. There are a couple people I have not used, but I don't know if there's Mark and Mark do the job.
Maybe it's worthwhile to do a simultaneous process. Advertise by CMA, doing that happens next week. You look at your network and talk to Nick and talk to other people and see what they can come up with and go back to CML and whoever it is. So that process can be going on. And if it looks like we're pretty damn successful, we don't need to go to recruiter, but we can do the RFP at the same time. It doesn't hurt us to do an RFP to see who comes up with the charges.
Can you do a first review or a deadline?
A deadline.
So what you can do, which is my favorite, is a first review. So you can put it out, say, through, I personally think they sometimes put way too long a thing on there, like they put 6 weeks. People are like going, well, 6 weeks, I'll wait.
World change.
See what better comes up.
You need to submit a proposal. Are you talking about an RFP application for the job?
Yeah.
Okay, I would. go with the first
So
review.
you could just say that the first review of applications is a mistake. It doesn't close it.
Right.
It's, you just see what you get. And if you don't get anybody at that point, then maybe you could go ahead. I don't know. I'm trying to save you money here because I have this enormously
Yes,
expensive.
they are.
And I'm not sure that it's worth it. I would rather have you put that money in salary and what that's going to attract. Because your salary. The truth is, okay, so 40% hiring rate among city and town managers a year. Most only because of political reasons. And most, I'm going to say, women.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I. I think that you could structure it so you could see what you got if you put out a little bit more money. Greg Schulte is my management advisor. We all have management advisor, even if we're all experienced. And he also suggested talking about benefits. And I thought for this one, a household allowance may be something that's attractive because housing costs are probably higher than your salary. And so I don't know if you this
Live in town.
small towns don't need a department, I think. He made it, and then he talked about retirement. For a way that I would have to estimate to unpaid. But he was just talking about, how he might kind of sweeten the deal. And I think what you have is charming community. And a desirable place to come. That a lot of other communities can't, like Kingsburg is not gonna ever be. Unless you just love Denver, but I think you can word the ad, so it's like, this is like an amazing place and you get to do all these interesting things. And I would spend more money on the ad, even if it costs more money. And I can get you that discount rate from ICMA and CCMA, like I guess Craig was able to get you. So
I think it was free.
for CCMA, but not ICMA.
She was not a member of ICMA, I don't think. Does that sound right? I can't remember.
I didn't even know you could be a member of CCMA without it.
No, God, I have to go back and look at my notes. But you are
Yeah.
a member. one as an offshoot of the other.
Yeah, asking is expensive, so I don't even think about that. Yeah, I mean, there's options. There's options that we could structure this to see what you get first.
Well, one of the things you have is kind of an outsider's view of what Paonia is.
Yeah.
And could you help write that ad
Oh, sure.
to the point where it's really attractive to somebody that doesn't know a damn thing? You know, they've never heard of it, other than maybe Paonia Purple.
I took a class in California from a very renowned planner there about how to recruit, because it was really hard to get planners in California because you have to be your skill level is very high. And he basically said, do not put community development director, salary range, well, he said, put come ski in the most fabulous mountain.
That's what that other guy said. What his name was. Yep.
Tell people what would you like to live there and being honest, like, a community that's highly, I would say, highly engaged and opinionated.
Yeah.
And you put in all these things and they'll be able to work, because I'm very attracted by capital improvement projects, you probably know this from my resume. And so you write what your projects are gonna be and stuff, and then you're gonna have a person that says, this is what I like. And it's Colorado, which is always in the favor, because everybody's out there.
And ski.
Well,
You're all
not around here.
2 hours, 2.5 hours class.
From work, speaking.
And just to add on, that was one thing that Bill Crank said, is try to advertise on the the website that's Ski Communities USA, and I called them. And there wasn't a place to advertise, but she said she would put it in her listserv. So I have no idea if we heard from anybody on that listserv, but we tried that. But, we had this really nice brochure that John put together, but maybe it needed to be reworked a little.
Easy to do, by the way.
Yeah.
People having fun.
See.
Well, you've got so many things here. Let's see, gold medal fishing.
No, it was more like Southern Ohio fun.
Beautiful.
I have to confess.
I'm joking because you don't know about how many recruitments I've gotten for Ohio and.
Oh, no, I get your joke exactly.
Southern Ohio.
Yeah.
And I actually applied to one, then I talked to the people and I thought, I don't think I'm a good fit.
There's a lot of cheap housing there, though.
Yeah, exactly.
$30,000.
I know, you could buy a gigantic Victorian mansion for, $30,000.
Don't be knocking Yellow Springs.
Nobody call it Yellow Springs, right?
It's a cool place.
So now what do we do?
We have a motion on the table to go back and restart the hiring process and hire a recruiter. So if we amend that to take off the hire a recruiter process.
I
go
would
back
amend
and-
my motion to take out the hire a recruiter part.
You agree? All right. So why don't we go ahead and pass the motion to restart the hiring process? All in favor? Opposed? All right. So we have that. Now, you can make a decision as to what we want to do as far as, yeah, do we want to increase the salary?
I think so.
Wait till Cindy hears.
I think you're right. I
I think the rationale I heard for not hiring recruiters, bumping the salary up by 120, that sound reason. So let's take a top at 120, see if that helps boost the candidate. Because that is realistic about what someone needs is an annual salary to buy a house here.
To buy a house, yeah, and it's on the edge.
And, what we're gonna do is up their benefit package by allowing 5 hours of mental health counseling after each meeting.
I think we need that for the board.
Give us some, and I think.
A winery would stay open.
Oh,
It was 5 hours every meeting. Next day.
we're meeting the pot snack shop would give us free gummies.
Before the meeting.
And for the public.
Oh, that's even better. That might help.
I think we're having too much
Then you
fun.
gotta get double.
We have further business because we did this tonight.
I know we do, and
We're
I
starting to get slapped at.
All right, so, yeah, here's a question, Leslie. Are you willing to extend your contract? If so, for how long?
I told my professional association I would talk about it in 6 months. But here's my place. I have grown too old for mean-spirited politics. And at 6 months, that's kind of when people start to say, you did what? You're in a golden year, you know, and that's the first. So, that's kind of my top. But hopefully, you know. My experience at Crestone is being persistent. We did not have a water. We had advertised for water. We had nobody with any experience after 3 months. And I just kept, I upped the salary at one point and I just kept the ad in, we kept looking, we kept putting out the word. And then this guy showed up who is fantastic. And saved Crestone $30,000 the first month.
Oh,
So it's persistence. I think you're gonna find the right person. And, you know, a different approach and just keep saying, this is a great place, which it is, that's the managing. You have a contentious community and some people don't mind that.
So who's contacting the candidates to let them know about the decision?
I can do that.
Otherwise.
I will call them this afternoon.
So how do we go forward with this new set of job description? We have to come up with a bottom salary. We want to go up to 120, right? We had ours 85 to 105.
I think I would leave it at 85, right?
120, okay.
There's always a chance that you're gonna get somebody who's young and just, you know, has maybe is the best writers.
Exactly.
But has the aptitude. And that's really what you need, like this young man that I described in Crestone, I think he's going to eventually be a good man.
What about MPA programs in the state?
There are,
I think it's someone.
there are, a lot of people go to Wyoming, MPA, and
Jeremy? What's MPA?
I have my degrees in landscape architecture, business administration, and ministry.
But I'm just thinking, recruiting one. I'm just thinking recruiting wise, going to colleges, because there could be people who have worked for government and they want to go to the next level and they've been a planning director, they've been, who knows what else, public works, and they go and get their own PA, and then they're looking for the next step, so they have good. You know, they, in other words, they were a professional in between bachelors and then they went back to get their master's, or they're doing an executive program for masters or something.
Or look at the best and brightest. I mean, who's coming out of a best and brightest program?
Yeah, best and brightest is good, but I hired somebody from best and brightest that was a train wreck, so.
Well, and I hired somebody at Blue Sage who came out of best and brightest at Delta, and it's like, thank God he went and got an assistant town administrator position, because that's where he needed to be.
Yeah, it's, you know, I personally put more stock in attitude and fit than I do in an MPA program. Because I have known at least a few people that go to an MPA program that say have mental illness to the point that they can't fit in a job like this and or have no aptitude for it at all. Because the motivation, I'll just give you an example of the building inspector that we had. He really knew the code well, but his motivation was to have power over other people. And that program will attract people who have that. And I have a lot of friends with MPA. One of my best friends who took the job in Preston has an MPA, but I just don't. Because someone has an MPA does not mean that they're gonna be a good manager.
No, I'm just looking at recruiting sources. Schools that produce MPAs, well, they have potential candidates.
The town that has it's a city that's in the north or in the south.
You're talking about Wyoming?
Yeah, south.
There's only one four-year university, and that's in Laramie.
Oh, right.
So,
Mark taught, I didn't think it
but
was.
there's community colleges, there's 7 of them. One in Cheyenne, where was it?
Yes, when.
Lander has one in Riverton, has a community college.
Do they have an MBA program?
I couldn't tell you.
Because I know some people that said they went to Lander, I'm pretty sure.
Lander, because they could live in Lander. Nobody wants to live in Riverton. They usually live in Lander because it's groovy, but Riverton is where the college is. But, you know, there could be some programs. I don't know.
Yeah,
Like,
but anyway, I think, so there's several, you could send. There's no thing that you can't send recruitments to all kinds of MPA programs. I think you have the ability, you could attract somebody from the state. Especially, yeah, because they went up to Colorado and they get that trip.
Well, one of the things that we did was we did this CML, comparable CML in about 6 other surrounding states. So that was, and that did get us applicants, you know, I can't say who came from where, but we did that, and maybe we need to do that again. It's very cheap. But, you know, we had a closing date, so all those expired. Everything that we were advertising for has since expired, so
We do the first review thing,
we're right.
that would
Right,
eliminate
I
that
like
problem.
Robert's review.
Well, yeah, but I'm just, are we gonna do this again?
Procedure.
I'm not doing it till after Christmas.
Do we send it to personnel?
Yeah, I mean, do you want us to spearhead a new announcement?
I don't think that's really fair to you.
I know, it's.
You've done 4 months.
You can do it, I don't know about you, I can't do it now. I need a break and
A
it's
lot of what's
Christmas,
been
but
done has already been done. So now we can revise.
with Leslie's help.
Do you want us to draft something and you can
Yes.
seal it?
Yeah, but I'm wondering if you should, why don't I email you our job description and the brochure?
And why don't we go ahead and vote on raising the top salary to 120? So let's go ahead and make a motion and get that voted.
I would make a motion that we raise the top salary to $125,000.
I think it was 120.
120? 120, and leave the bottom at 85.
Right, yeah. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We
120. top
didn't
salary.
discuss. We didn't
One.
discuss. One point. I can hear the voices already. You did what? Yeah, so we need to educate, I'm just saying for the record, we need to educate the whoever needs to be educated about what the process is here and what the concerns are.
Right.
I thoroughly support it, but I can just see that part of that contentiousness is going to rear its concerns.
It was brought up in open meeting that, at least I brought it up, that I thought that the salary was too low.
I know.
Well, and I'm not bringing it up tonight because our agenda tonight is so huge.
Yeah,
And we don't need to add one more thing to the agenda, but it can be, we can bring it up at the first meeting in January. It can be under announcement. I'm gonna announce tonight that we're going back out.
You say that's all.
Oh my God. Tonight, oh my God, tonight, I hope everything's a slam dunk because even slam dunk.
I can guarantee you not everything.
No, I can guarantee you not everything is gonna be a slam dunk.
And you say you're gonna bring your fire extinguisher.
I think bear spray works better.
To raise the top salary to 120. All in favor? And then I, again, put it on the announcement at the January 1st.
So you're gonna send me what you have and I'll draft something up and I'll send it to everybody?
Sure.
Okay. What's this?
Those are folders.
Until maybe the next time.
Oh, we should probably.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I did not.
I just gave her a bunch of my notes.
It's been to get for the rest of us. We may be the one.
Yeah, mine are shredded. Are we adjourned?
You know.
It's 6:30.
We mostly